Hello, I'm Tom Bankson with BankBeat.biz. I've got with me today David Krause from the Pioneer Bank in Mankato, Minnesota. David, how are you?
I'm great, Tom. Great.
Good. Well, thank you for being with us. A lot going on in banking these days. If you were to summarize what things are like in the industry right now, what would you say?
Unknown comes to mind. I mean, we're in uncharted territory, of course. We've all been through crises before. I started in my career 35 years ago at the end of the ag crisis, and I lived through the financial crisis of 2009. But this one is different than that because it's so broad and so far-reaching, and this is one of those times where there's nobody really to blame. I mean, it's this virus out there, the unknown enemy that President Trump talks about. But there's so much unknown about how soon we're going to come out of it, what it's going to look like when we come out of it. So I think that's the one word that comes to mind when I think about the times that we're in.
Right, and it is a unique time, but I appreciate that you mentioned the 80s and the egg crisis. Do you think there were some lessons that you could take from that experience several decades ago and apply today?
Well, I think there are, although, today's dynamics so much different than that. I mean, interest rates were very high back then. You saw dramatic drops in land values and other pieces of collateral machinery, for example. So it was really hard to maneuver that particular industry. But the change today is that we may have similar situations going on in agriculture today. I mean, you look at what's happening in the hog industry or eggs and beef, and I guess you name it. But when you're starting to euthanize livestock and paying somebody to haul your collateral away, so there can be some similarities there. But the difference this time is it's not just agriculture. And whether you're in the entertainment industry or the retail or service, I mean, it's across the board. And at least back then, a lot of the focus was on agriculture and what was happening in that industry. But today's situation is so much different than that.
Right, and I know you have a significant ag portfolio, but of course you service many other kinds of businesses as well. What are you hearing from, say, the Main Street shop, retail, other kinds of businesses? What are they telling you?
Well, we're in that period of time right now where there's just that frustration of many of those businesses not being able to be open. And so today's focus seems to be on, look, let's get the economy open. Let's get businesses functioning again. But I think what's coming next, though, then is the concern is like, okay, when we do open, what's it going to look like? And will the customers, even though they can come to your business, are they going to feel comfortable coming to the business? And again, that gets us to that unknown. But when you're forced to not be open, it's hard to even imagine what that's going to be like. So I think the first step, what's important right now, is to find a way to get this economy going again, get those businesses open, so we can let those business managers and those business men and women do the things they do well. Find a way to manage their business with some things that they can see and that they do know, and then and go about running a profitable business at that point. But until they're able to be open, we can't even get to that point.
Sure. And do you think, was PPP a good start? Is it enough? How do you assess that?
Well, PPP was huge. I don't think there's any way to underestimate the importance of that program. Our bank alone, we're a $650 million bank in southern Minnesota. We've got 8 locations. We did over 650 loans. We funded about $65 million worth of loans, and those dollars were so important to the people that we helped. But there were some folks who chose not to take. I mean, we had conversations with some businesses that said, "Look, I've run a business that can't be open because we're a service industry. Maybe it's a hair salon, maybe it's a dental practice or something like that." It said, "Look, we can't even be open. So why would I take a PPP loan when the 75% of the money that I have to spend has to be used on personnel, but I'm not even here paying my people?" So it wasn't a perfect solution, but it was extremely important for so many businesses. And I'm so glad that program was there and that we were able to help.
And I'm assuming that your staff had to learn a lot very quickly, right? I mean, this came out of nowhere. Nobody had ever done this kind of thing before. How did you gear up and, you
Well,
know?
we were fortunate. We do a lot of SBA lending. So we were in the system. We were approved SBA lender. And so, E-Tran and all those things were not foreign to us. But that first weekend, I mean, we had a couple of dozen employees working around the clock that first Friday, Saturday, Sunday, getting these loans booked. We heard lots of horror stories about other banks who weren't able to get in or get things processed. We were actually pretty fortunate. Those 650 borrowers I talked about, we've actually been able to process and approve everyone who applied. The first round, every application we had to the moment that the first round ran out of money was able to be processed and approved. And the second round, same thing. Of course, there's still money available and we're still taking applications. But I think as of this morning, out of those 650, we had all but 13 funded, and they were scheduled to fund here by the end of tomorrow.
I see. And of course, in order to adapt to this whole coronavirus environment, banks have had to do a lot of things, change their business practices. One even is simply conducting more meetings electronically, as we're doing right now. I'm curious if you think any of these changes have improved your business processes and may outlast the crisis, so that when we go back to normal, we'll be carrying on with some new business practices.
Well, you always hear people talking about, when are things going to return to normal, or they'll say the new normal. One of the things that I always look forward to when you're dealt a hand like this, when you're going through a crisis or something that is a challenge, is you look for the ways that it's going to make you better, right? And I think the economy as a whole is going to find ways to do things better than they have in the past. Banks are going to do that, certainly. We're fully functioning, our organization, and have been for over 2 months, with about 65% of our employees working from home. And so our entire operations center, our payment processing, our document origination and processing, credit analysts, all of our business bankers and ag bankers, they're all working remotely and from home. And I think one of the things it's taught us to do is become actually more efficient. Sometimes it's easy at work to, kind of do the laps around the bank lobby, stop and see everybody, chit chat, do this or whatever. Now, people are focused on getting it done. And the need has been so great. And a program like the PPP program that we just talked about has taught us that as well. I mean, it was urgent and important that we acted on that program right away. And it was amazing what our team was able to accomplish by working remotely and for the common good of Southern Minnesota's economy.
And David, I'm happy that I get to ask you, your bank has been recognized with some really nice awards. The Star Tribune has named your bank a top place to work. And I know you've been an extraordinary banker finalist several years in a row. Those, I'm assuming, have a lot to do with the way you do customer service and the way you do your business. And I just want to share a little bit about that with the folks watching this. And how has that been affected by this virus environment?
We made a concerted effort about 5 years ago. We made a decision that we were going to make a visible change to the culture of our organization. And we took that head on. We did a lot of employee surveys, a lot of interviews with staff to find out what was important to them. And we changed the way we did our banking internally. And it has had profound impact on us as an organization. You mentioned some of the awards that we've got, and those are nice. That's a nice recognition of what we've been able to do. But what's really important is when you see it on the faces of the people on your team, and then when we're confronted with a challenge like we are now, to send people from this environment of being able to come to work, sit alongside their coworker, work on projects, and do and accomplish great things. But now we say, do it from home, do it alone. Here's your phone, here's your computer, here's your whatever. Good luck, go. And then you see the same results, and you see, the Zoom meetings, even if it's a happy hour after work, or the team meetings we have during work where that communication is still going on, even though it's done remotely, you know you've made a positive impact. But I'm so proud of our staff. They've done a fantastic job handling this transition and did it so very quickly. And now as we come to the other side of this thing, we're all looking forward to being back in the bank again and interacting in a more traditional way. But I've been very pleased with the way it's turned out.
And you are nearing the completion of your term as chairman of the Minnesota Bankers Association. That's a big commitment that a banker makes. And I know the legislative session is kind of wrapping up here, and normally the annual meeting would be in about a month. I guess it's going to be a virtual meeting this year. But as you reflect back on your year of service, what stand out as the highlights?
Well, I guess this does. And one of the things that, when I started my year last year, the theme was kind of a call to service and talking about the importance of bankers participating in their industry and being a part of the process to make the industry better and to inform the public about the importance of the banking industry. And really, when you look at that theme, there could be no more fitting way to end the year than where we are today. What we're going through as an industry and what we're leading our economy through, this country is looking towards bankers to take the lead and to make sure we get through this. And it has shown me how important trade organizations like the Minnesota Bankers Association or the ICBM or the ICBA or the ABA are for the industry, because I've been so proud of the way those associations have answered the call to provide information, get the information out, provide networking opportunities for bankers to talk to each other to help them through this process. And so that has really reinforced what I already knew is how valuable these associations are to the industry.
Well, David Krause, I really appreciate your insight. We're running up against our time here, so I'm going to bring this to a close. But thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And I invite anybody out there watching to come back often. Check out bankbeat.biz. Again, my name is Tom Bankston, and I'm with David Krause, CEO of Pioneer Bank in Mankato, Minnesota.
Thank you, Tom.